Happy Monday and welcome into the weekend warm-up. No, that was Friday. Welcome into the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We'll be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics as we get into the week. Wrap up the weekend, and it was a busy one. A lot going on. Wade, glad you survived everything.
Man, yes. Glad to survive. Busy weekend. A lot of stuff to recap, a lot of stuff to preview. We did survive, though. Did the double on Saturday here in Nashville. Two of the biggest athletic events around. I hit them both on Saturday, so it was a lot of fun.
What did you do?
Well, Nashville soccer, of course, and had to go to the Nashville rodeo on Saturday. So, I mean, two of the bigger athletic endeavors that were going on in Music City. We hit them both in a short time span, and Sunday was for relaxing, and there was a lot to tap in and relax too, to catch up. Some good, some bad, depending on your worldview. And we had a good weekend, though. How about you?
Oh, it was good. I spent probably more time in front of the TV than I should have, but I mean the weekend kind of dictated that. Man, it was again plenty going on, and sometimes just being on the best seat in your house kind of lets you take best advantage of that. That was kind of the case this weekend. So again, a lot to look back at, a lot to get ready for. In the next hour, we will be joined by MAREN ANGUS-COOMBS of Softball on SI, talking a little Women's College World Series and reviews. We'll leave it at that for now, but we'll get into that more with MAREN when we get her in our 320 segment. In the next segment, we'll be joined by Joe REXRODE of The Athletic, talking a little NCAA baseball. There was some of that going on in Nashville over the weekend as well, though it didn't necessarily go the way the locals would have hoped. But we will get Joe's take on everything that took place at Hawkins Field and elsewhere across NCAA Division I baseball this weekend, and it's still taking place, as a matter of fact. So looking forward to talking to both MAREN and Joe here over the next couple of hours. We will talk some golf, some Major League Baseball, a little minor league baseball as well, little hoops. There was some of that. And there was some stock car racing that took place a little east of here over the weekend. We will talk a little bit about that as well. So, I mean, plenty as we've tried to get the point across. There was a lot going on this weekend. This might have been the busiest weekend just in terms of volume of sports that we've seen in a while, maybe all year.
Right up there. And you almost saw a no-hitter on Friday, right?
Yeah, it got pretty close. Again, a lot closer than some folks in black and gold would have liked to have seen. But unfortunately, that was kind of the highlight for some folks. So, yeah, almost saw a no-hitter, and it would not have been good if it had been the case. So, yeah, Joe will help us sort all of that out. But, yeah, it was it kind of snuck up on you, too. As it was going on, it's like, wait a minute, these guys, seriously? That's happening? So, yeah, we'll talk about that. There was some more baseball excitement west of Tennessee, west of the Mississippi. Wade's new favorite team did some damage. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. So, again, plenty to get into, man. It was a big weekend, and it's going to be a big week coming up. So let's go ahead and dive right in with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
We got you covered, folks. Your Monday Rundown is here. But before we get into it, we want to remind you that each and every single Monday, our Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Murray County. So give them a call today. That number is 931-388-5831. Or you can visit zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. Once again, Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Let's get you some results from the weekend. Let's start Friday. Major League Baseball action. Boston enters Truist Park and exits with a 5-1 victory over the Atlanta Braves. It was the Astros picking up a 2-1 win over visiting Tampa Bay. Up in Indianapolis, the Nashville Sounds dropped a 5-4 decision to the Indianapolis Indians in International League action. WNBA play from Friday night. The Liberty with an 85-63 win over the Washington Mystics. The Connecticut Sun down the Fever 85-83. Minnesota with a 74-71 win over Phoenix. It was the Aces 96, the Sparks 81. And the Atlanta Fever with a 94-87 win over Seattle.
Let's go to Saturday real quick, and I'll do the honors to spare myself. And I'll just face the music the way we got to face it, because the Rays walloped the Astros, folks. It was 16-3 was your final there. The Braves took care of the Red Sox 5-0. Those were your MLB scores on Saturday. Sounds action, it was Indy on top of Nashville 8-4. WNBA lone game on the docket, but we saw Chicago break into the win column with a 94-83 victory over the Dallas Wings. Nashville Soccer Club in action on Saturday, led 2-0, had to settle for a 2-2 draw versus visiting NYC FC.
On Sunday, it was the Red Sox closing out that series at Atlanta with a 3-1 win over the Braves. The Astros get a masterpiece from Hunter Brown and the bullpen in a 1-0 win over Tampa Bay to finish up that series. And the Sounds get out of Indianapolis with an 11-1 victory. WNBA action from Sunday, the Liberty defeated the Sun, goodness gracious, 100-52. They must have been mad about something. Big win for the New York Liberty there. Phoenix 85, the Sparks 80. Las Vegas with a 75-70 win over Seattle, and the Lynx defeats Golden State 86-75. In AFL action on Sunday, the Nashville Cats improved to 5-3 with a 44-39 victory over Corpus Christi. We'll tell you what that means later in the show. And today's schedule. One of these is already final from the Women's College World Series. Texas eliminated the Lady Vols 2-0. We'll talk more about that with MAREN later in the show. At 6 o'clock this evening, it's Oklahoma and Texas Tech playing for the other berth in the best-of-3 championship series that'll be played later this week. And in NCAA baseball, Wake Forest and Tennessee will play a winner-take-all matchup. I believe that game is actually at 5 o'clock our time because it's been moved, but it can be seen on ESPN2. So we'll try to clear that up and let you know here probably during our segment with Joe here in the next segment. So we will get that finalized and get you up to date. But at any rate, ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And stop me if you've heard this, especially this month. Scotty Scheffler won a PGA Tour event. The third time since the start of May, that's 4 events, he's won. He won the Byron Nelson, and I lost the other one, but he has won 3 of his last 4 outings. Oh, the PGA Championship.
The major.
Charles Schwab, yeah, and then won the Memorial. This one that he won yesterday by 10 strokes, was the second straight time that he's won the Memorial up in Ohio. So first guy to go back-to-back since Tiger won 3 straight there from 1999 to 2001. So again, we've mentioned it at various points here over the last few weeks. Scotty Scheffler, hotter than fish grease.
Yeah, I mean, really, you kind of have completely forgot what little bit of bad form he was in to start the year. And, yes, he kind of got a little too late into the mix at Augusta, or else we'd be talking about him, going back to back there. But this guy has been absolutely on fire. And we closed, Thursday and Friday saying these other guys, and Jack Nicklaus said as much, right there at the end of the tournament. He said, with all due respect to Ben Griffin, Sepp Straka, Nick Taylor, these guys are not in the same realm as Scotty Scheffler. And we saw that, Griffin finishes 4 shots behind, but I mean, he was 1 over, kind of just wilting. You could see the pressure bearing down on him. Scotty is just inevitable at this point. And you mentioned he goes back-to-back, first time since Tiger. Crazy stat though, Mo. Two different crazy stats. Choose your own adventure here, I guess. But crazy stat number 1, that is his 3rd defense of a title. He wins the tournament and then follows up with the win the next year. That sounds impressive. Tiger Woods did that 23 times in his career. So, Tiger Woods is living vicariously through Scotty Scheffler. He's getting a full rerun of his career every time Scotty does well. Number 2, you mentioned the 3 wins. His 3 wins in the month of May, that was the same number of wins the Colorado Rockies had in the month of May. So, I mean, he was on fire. He did it all. I mean, and then we love Scotty so much because then, I mean, as soon as he comes off the course, you watch it yesterday, as soon as he comes off the course, his wife is there to greet him and hands him the brand new baby and says, hey, he's got a little poop on his back. And Scotty doesn't even miss a beat and says, man, that'll happen. I mean, this guy just went out and blasted the field, ran away with yet another tournament, and goes right into daddy mode like it was cool, calm, and collected. It was a beautiful thing to watch, and this dude is just simply phenomenal to play out there on the course right now.
It's tough that the Colorado Rockies are catching strays. We'll have more on them later in the show as well. But, yeah, they had more chances than he did, too. So that's tough. Only Sam Snead and the aforementioned Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods have had less time elapsed between their first PGA victory and their 16th than Scheffler. Scotty, 3 years, 108 days. Sam Snead did it in less than 3 years. Nicklaus and Tiger, 3 years and 52 days for Jack, 3 years and 95 days for Tiger. So what we're telling you is, again, this guy is a man possessed, and if you're trailing him after 54 holes, you might as well just sleep in. This was the 9th straight tournament that he has taken the lead into Sunday and converted it. They call that closing, right, Wade?
I mean, yeah, like we said last week, I mean, it is Tiger-esque. Everything that he is doing is with all due respect, less charismatic version of Tiger Woods. He's the
Did he start wearing red on Sundays?
He can do whatever he wants. He will never get to the level of popularity as Tiger Woods by any stretch, but we will start to eventually tune in a little more. He's already kind of grabbing that curiosity factor just ever so slightly where he's going to win, but you're kind of still tuning in. And again, not dissing Ben Griffin or Sepp Straka or Nick Taylor. My boy Keegan Bradley did have a 7th place finish. Was glad to see that. But none of those guys were even in. I mean, how about Snedeker? Brant Snedeker shoots 7 under yesterday to finish in the top 10, turning back the dial with a 65. But none of those guys had any match. But people will tune in to watch Scotty kind of do his thing. He's just kind of a less lightning rod, jail sentences notwithstanding, than what we saw with Tiger. I mean, this guy just is the everyman and goes about his business systematically, and he's taking names left and right. We got the U.S. Open coming up here in about 2 weeks at Oakmont. He will be a prohibitive favorite. And to your point a second ago, if he catches a whiff of a lead, he kind of has got that Tiger juice where he will turn it on and he will hunt you down. We saw it yet again.
Yeah, and you mentioned people will tune in. You tune in for the entertainment aspect of it because it's not like he necessarily always puts a chokehold on Sunday. I mean, he might give up a couple of strokes or something like that, just enough to kind of up the ante and make you think maybe somebody can sneak back into it. But again, ultimately takes care of business. 4 strokes ahead of Ben Griffin in total, and it's just amazing to watch.
Well, and it's like you said, I mean, we go back just a couple weeks ago to the PGA. Everybody's tuning in, thinking, we got him and him and Rahm, and then it looks like they're going to go toe-to-toe, blow for blow, and then Rahm implodes at the same time that Scheffler kind of dials in, and it's a runaway. I mean, he is the best in the world by a crazy margin. There is a tiny element of a little element of luck. It's not as if he is absolutely obliterating the field like we saw with Tiger. I mentioned that a moment ago. 23 times Tiger defends his title. We're just talking about a young pup here, and Scheffler were just 3. But he's taking advantage when the opportunities are there, and he is kind of the standard bearer. And it will be electric to watch out on the West Coast here in a couple weeks.
Meanwhile, he's putting his financial team to work, because in the month of May alone, he won nearly $10 million. 1.7, almost 1.8 at the Byron Nelson, 3.4 at the PGA. Again, 427,000 at the Charles Schwab, where he tied for 4th, and a cool $4 million for 4 days work at the Memorial. That ain't bad.
No. And I mean, lifetime earnings, and, the purses are a little higher and a little inflated, account for inflation and what have you. But he is, and eventually will catch Tiger, it feels like, because he's currently 4th on that all-time list at around 86.5 million thus far. Phil Mickelson is 3rd at 96. Feels like he's dead in the water. Rory is slightly above him. He's the only real active competition. No disrespect to Tiger or Phil there, but there's a volume is just not there. But yeah, it feels like this dude, I mean, this is just tournament winnings. We're not even talking about the money that the guy is making, off to the side on endorsement deals and other opportunities. He is cashing checks. He's writing record books. I mean, he is doing it all and kind of going about his business. Like I said, he's just casually holding the baby with the poop on the back, like he's been a dad for 30 years, and changed a million diapers in his lifetime, fresh off winning a tournament. That's the type of guy we're talking about. He is so much fun to watch, just in a different variety than what we saw with Tiger.
Absolutely. Let's take a break here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be talking a little college baseball, and there's plenty of it to talk. And we'll be doing it with Joe Rexrode of The Athletic. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo, opening June 20th.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
333.
Bee, oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
The weekend wrap-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Mark, do we have Joe yet?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, cool. Okay, I couldn't tell from what I was looking at on the screen. We are joined by the Athletics Joe Rexrode, who was posted up out at Hawkins Field over on West End over the weekend, and there is no joy in Mudville. Joe, if Vanderbilt were to get another national #1 seed, do you think they would turn it down?
That's a good question. Maybe Clemson should just insist on being on the road forever, since they lost like 10 straight or whatever home regionals. But yeah, I mean, it's only the second one, of course, for Vanderbilt. The funny thing about that, Mo, is that this one technically could go down as the worst performance by a 1 seed, because obviously the first one did not make the regional final. But I would still argue that it's way less shocking than the 07 one, right? Like, that was a 1 seed that is like the clear best team in college baseball, unlike this team. So, but still, but both of them together, it's like, my goodness, no thank you.
Yeah, exactly. No, stay away from. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. It's tough. They, as Wade was saying in the opening segment, I mean, they get no hit for 6 innings, and then they get up off the mat and they down Wright State 4-3. And goodness gracious, I think the Wright State coach might have done them a favor there by changing the look. But they got up off the mat like they've done so many times this season. But I don't know if they blew their magic on Friday night, but Louisville gets them 3-2 on Saturday night, and then they fall to Wright State in an elimination game 5-4 yesterday. No shame in that Louisville game in particular. I mean, that's a really good ball club and a well-pitched ball game on both sides, and Vanderbilt just came up short. But you would have thought they'd come up with some kind of way to get past Wright State yesterday and force another matchup with Louisville.
Yes, and you just look at the totality of it, and it's just a dismal performance. And there's no explanation. Yes, of course, there's always another side. There's always a pitcher on the mound who may be pitching well above, his fighting weight and all that. But when it's all, I mean, really, like, no one who shut them down this weekend is really a pitcher of esteem, in college baseball, and
Right.
And in particular the Wright State guys. But one with a near 7 ERA and then one with a near 9. Between those two pitchers, you have 14 innings and 1 hit allowed to Vanderbilt. So it's just, this was just a team that, I mean, it really did. I mean, maybe it sounds like hyperbole, but like it was a little bit hard to watch at one point. Like the way that they were, struggling at the plate and just completely just out of sorts, how they were reacting to it, and then how the fans were reacting to that, because it just got to the point where it's like, this team just has no hope. And then, of course, they do come up with a rally at the very last second, and at that point you get a little bit of bad luck with the ground rule double. But man, it was, I mean, that was tough, because you look at that bounce and it's like it was perfectly placed to bounce over, maybe like 2 feet shorter or longer. Probably doesn't happen.
Right.
But that's what happened. And you had to feel bad for RJ Austin. I mean, he's been such a key player. He's a leader in this team, and he just had a nightmare day. And of course, it comes down to him, and he goes fishing for a pitch high and outside of the zone, and that's it.
And Joe, kind of with the way you framed it a second ago, 07, they come in sky high expectations, but this year it seemed like they kind of just stole that 1 seed, and so I'm curious, and you painted a little bit of a grim picture there at Hawkins Field, but what was the mood from the fan? Was it pure disgruntledness? Was it just shock? I mean, kind of just give us maybe the fan reaction coming out of just such a wild weekend.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Vanderbilt, you get the press box, and Mo and I were a couple feet from each other on Friday, and you've got obviously you're right behind home plate, and all those people in front of you are all either their season ticket holders, very loyal fans, a who's who of Vanderbilt, celebs and donors and whatnot, and you get some some administrators and things like that. So it was not, it's going to be, it was just sad, quiet and sad, I mean, that's really what, now maybe online it was a little nastier than that, right? On Twitter, a little, but yeah, I mean, I tweeted about this. It was like the seventh inning ended yesterday, and a couple kind of got up and they were like saying goodbye to all these people, and they hugged the usher and great season, guys. Okay, see you later. And it was like, there's 2 innings left. I mean, this is the whole season. And yet I'm like, you know what? They're not wrong, because it's not going to happen. So, I mean, it was really something to behold.
When you say all of that, Joe, is it just because, again, you throw it back to 07 and they were so dominant pretty much from post to wire, even though the wire came early, was this just a picture of the parity that we have in college baseball right now?
I think that's a good point, and that is some of it. And I don't know if that helps comfort any Vanderbilt fans, but yeah, look, anybody watch this team all year, you tell somebody in mid-April this team's going to be the #1 seed. They're probably laugh at you, right? It's just how it kind of worked out. And yeah, this is definitely one of those years that we don't have that team, so there is that for sure. Even as they're going through this weekend, and I know it's easy to say this when a team is struggling, but I'm just looking at this lineup and I'm like, why am I afraid of these guys? Like Brody Johnston is going to be, he's a heck of a freshman. He can send the ball to the yard in a hurry, and he was one of the few guys who had decent weekends, hit a couple out for Vanderbilt. Some other guys had been showing a little bit of power lately, but again, it's like Riley Nelson, great story. JUCO kid comes in, he's your #3 hitter, but and he had the home run to win Friday. But I do think that there is some of that. There's parity, and I also think that it's just like, it's almost like shooting in basketball. It's like like the Vols going to the postseason. It's like, well, they got to hit those outside shots. they're going to play D. They're going to rebound. Are they going to hit their shots? And with Vanderbilt, it's like they've got a lot of good pitchers. They don't have superstars. They got a lot of good pitchers. They play fantastic defense. They run. It's all these things that are the marks of a solid, all around really good baseball team. But is the hitting going to be there? Are they going to hit? And again, this was too much like 2 years ago when they're the #6 seed and they won the SEC tournament, and then they just completely, had a malfunction at the plate at home at Hawkins Field. So I think that there's a lot of things, and some of it is also just handling that. I think at this point it's like things snowball themselves, and people who had been around this team this year, were like, it has been like a lighter, more fun team, and kind of loose, and just like a good approach. And all of a sudden, it just looked like a bunch of guys feeling the pressure right from the start. And so it's not going to get any easier year after year, as this stretch of, now it's 4 straight not getting out of the first weekend. That's stunning for a Tim Corbin program. And you would, if you say that, you're like, oh, so the program has fallen off completely. No, it hasn't. But when it comes down to it, you get judged by what you do in the postseason.
Yeah.
Joe Rexrode of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Joe, talk a little bit about the parity. Not sure if that's going to make Vanderbilt fans feel any better. I wonder if Texas falling to UT San Antonio makes them feel any better. I mean, I'm looking through these top 16 seeds, and while Vanderbilt is the #1 and probably by virtue of that the biggest culprit, they were far from the only team that they weren't the only team that got upset this weekend. I mean, you saw 5 regional hosts get knocked out, 3 from the SEC, by the way. So
Absolutely.
It's I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that there are a lot of anti-SEC folks out there that are just jumping all over that. But I mean, does it mean more?
Yeah, well, first of all, and of course, Texas, had a good case to be the 1 seed, and probably again, a lot of people still kind of thought they might be.
Mhm.
So that was a shocker. Texas A&M fans are the biggest UTSA lover. Like they should build them a facility for that.
Merchandise sales for their Fanatics shop probably have a College Station and shipping address today, I would imagine.
That's right.
A&M
That's
might be
right.
adopting blue and
Right.
orange for a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah, just in tribute. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's a stunner. Like you said, yeah, Georgia there is out, and there's more today. Of course, and I mean, of course, the big one. So first of all, yeah, it has been rough. Right now the ACC has 3, the SEC just 2. There are a bunch up for grabs today. So it'll be interesting. It's the SEC has been following up its dominance in the postseasons with all these sports, and it's happened in softball too. But right now, it's a wobbly start in baseball. Of course, the big one that the Vanderbilt fans care about
Mhm.
is, 2 years ago, I mentioned all that stuff happened. Also, by the way, Tennessee is on the road. They beat Clemson, which of course never wins at home, and Tennessee gets all the way to Omaha in a year that was supposed to be Vanderbilt's year. So I think Vanderbilt fans just hoping against hope that Wake Forest can save them from what would be. I mean, Tennessee fans have just all this trash talk lined up and ready to go if they can just get past one more game here.
If they can just get past one more game, and that won't be as easy as they'd like for it to be, I don't think, because this Wake Forest team really kind of put it on them yesterday.
They did. They did. Wake Forest can swing the bat. I mean, there's a talented team, and I when that draw first came, I said, man, watch out. That could be really interesting. So, Tennessee has, they're down to the point where, they've kind of struggled a little bit in terms of, that third starter.
Mhm.
I think Kuhns will be the guy, but and they do have a lot of arms that they can throw out there tonight. But I mean, obviously it hurts for Snead to falter like he did. Nate Snead to falter like he did last night. So I think this could be one of those wild Lindsey Nelson 10-8, 11-9 type of games. And if that's the case, then I guess you could just come down to one big hit by either side late in the game.
Do you recall as many Monday games as we've got today? I think we've got 6.
No, it's high for sure. I mean, I guess it's hard, there's no way it's happened a lot, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like here and there, sometimes it is like this, but yeah, I think this is definitely on the high end. So, and again, you've got several SEC teams, um, trying to hang in there. I mean, of course, Georgia's already been bounced. Florida's been bounced. So some people thought Florida, because they had really come on,
Mhm.
might be dangerous. You got Oklahoma's got a tough one against North Carolina, of course. So a few others. So I mean, it's a big day. I mean, the one SEC team that just has been such a struggle in this tournament. It seems like a lot, with high expectations is Arkansas. They just took care of business, and if Tennessee does win, I think that's the best super that we'd be looking at is that. And really, like you could make the case, the 2 most talented teams playing in Fayetteville, to get to Omaha.
Yeah. Your full slate for today, North Carolina and Oklahoma, I think has started and is on ESPNU. That was a 2 o'clock Central Time start. At 5 down at Oxford, you've got Murray State and Ole Miss. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody saw the Racers going into yesterday undefeated. Southern Cal and Oregon State at 5 as well. Also, Wake and UT is at 5. That game's on ESPN too. That is a 5 o'clock Central Time first pitch, y'all. So be on the lookout for that. At 8 o'clock tonight, you've got Miami at Hattiesburg against Southern Miss. And in a region that a lot of people said had been set up for the host Tigers, LSU has been pushed by Arkansas Little Rock into a
Mhm.
Monday game, 8 o'clock tonight as well, following that UT Wake Forest game on ESPN2. Yeah, I thought everybody was saying that the Baton Rouge regional was the easiest regional for the host team of the 16. And I guess the Trojans said, hold something, beer or whatever else. Yeah.
Hold this crawfish. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're like 27-33, I believe. So talk about a shocker if they could get one more done here.
That would be crazy. Joe Rexrode of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stepping away from the bracket for just a second, it sounds like there's white smoke coming out of Starkville. Mississippi State has hired Brian O'Connor. I don't know if they've announced it or not, but it seems to be being reported pretty widely.
Yes, I did see that, and I think that's potentially really good for Mississippi State. I mean, you talk about a program that has had some wild swings, right? And
Yeah.
it looked like absolutely set up to just keep it rolling and falling off. So I mean, I think that could be really good for that program. I mean, it's amazing. You can say this about a few sports, but certainly like baseball. And of course, you add Texas, Oklahoma, and in a lot of sports that also just strengthens it. We saw what it did for men's basketball, but you talk about just a sport where everyone in this league, I would say, pretty close. Obviously Missouri this year was, that was your freebie for everybody, but just cares about this sport and invests in it. That's pretty cool.
It just seemed kind of wild to me. I mean, he won a national championship at UVA. He's coming out of the ACC. I'm trying to rationalize what makes Mississippi State a better situation than Virginia, and I guess it just comes down to it being in the SEC.
Yeah, it just comes down to over time. You just have the gap widens in terms of that annual intake, and so because it does. When you say that on its face, it's like, huh. But obviously, Mississippi State does care, and you just have a better chance in the SEC or the Big Ten moving forward. I think with any sport. But I mean, like the sports after football, and of course, different sports prioritize them differently. You could make the case that Mississippi State cares about baseball as much as anything after football. And again, you have that that money difference with revenue sharing coming and all that stuff. I mean, I get it. It makes sense. And it's hard to argue with, even though it seems so weird.
It does.
Hey, Joe, real quick, since you mentioned football, we were remiss. By the way, you look good on TV with the beach in the background on Feinbaum last week. I just want to point that out. But what was your takeaway, and what should be our takeaway as we kind of wander further and further into this weird kind of construct of the college football playoff?
Yeah, I really thought early in the week it's like, well, they're just going to go along with the Big Ten and the auto bids. And look, anybody's welcome to disagree with me. I have a real problem with the auto bids plan. The 4 for the Big Ten, the 4 for the SEC, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC. You could make the case to the Big 12 and ACC. Guys, you may hate the sound of this, but are you sure you don't want this? Because you might have won some years, So I get that, but it just bothers me that we would get to the point where it's like, well, we just happen to be richer than you, so we get twice as many spots as you. And to the credit, I think my big takeaway is that the SEC coaches, and wisely, I might add, came to Greg Sankey and said, no, we don't want this. Let's do the 5 auto bids for conference champions, and when the 11 at-large bids, stick with the committee. The SEC, I think, overreacted to last year, frankly, when they thought, Bama and South Carolina and Ole Miss, they're ticked off that Indiana gets in, all that stuff. Over time, strength of schedule, I think it's fair to say that needs to be really emphasized, because we don't want a loss of these good interconference games. But that you can do that. You can make that happen. You can make that clear. You can add, it's possible to add, more metrics. I think the metrics should be more transparent like they are in basketball. And I just think I think that's just way better for everybody. I know some people are like, oh no, the SEC is just going to dominate. But I mean, I think it's smart of them to look at this and say, yeah, 4 with all the other auto bids for other leagues is selling us short. Now the Big Ten, this is their plan, and I think the Big Ten would be thrilled to get 4 every year because some years they're not going to have 4 teams that are worth it. The SEC is always going to, and I know some people. I wrote a column about that, and of course, they get accused of being an SEC homer. I'm like, guys, let's just be realistic here. The Big Ten has has as much money, or a little bit more money, even right now than the SEC. The SEC is a much better football conference, and that's just objectively true. So I was impressed with the SEC coaches, and I think it's trending now toward what it should be, which is if they're going to go to 16, which again, guys, I like the 12. Can we do 12? A little bit more? No, I guess we can only do it one more year. But if we're going to do 16, I think you have to do it this way with at-large bids and keep the committee, and we can all keep screaming at each other.
That's what it's really all about. As long as we can just keep kind of some constant barbershop kind of dialogue, I mean, that's what help fuels the sport in a lot of regards, I feel like.
Yes, exactly. It's always been the arguing and the comparing and the hypothetical matchups. I mean, that's a huge part of the sport. If you get to the point where it's just as simple as your conference standings, some of these people, like the Big Ten people, are, well, so if we know this, and we'll schedule tougher games. Okay. But why do you even care about those games if you know that all you have to do, finish in your, again, they'd have these playing games. So finish in your top 6, or you're at least going to get a shot at it. Top 2, and you're in for sure. In your standings, those non-league games mean nothing. You're going to go get hurt in those games, and then again, I get that people get ticked off at the committee, but it's worked pretty well in hoops. We get mad at them every year too, but I mean, they do a pretty good job, I think, by and large. And I think that this committee, again, let's talk about what matters and what's important, so that there's just times when I just want people looking at something that's obvious and say, yeah, this team should be in over this team. Whereas anything else, sometimes the BCS computer screwed up, malfunction.
Yeah.
And I just think standings, when these leagues are so huge, these league schedules are so different. One year a team just gets a total break, another year a team gets murderer's row, and we're going to base it on standings. I mean, we're trying to make it the NFL, but it's just not. It's not apples to apples.
Right. There we go. Joe Rexrode of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Joe, as always, we appreciate your insight, man. Great catching up with you. You said that young Mr. Rexrode dropped a couple, but picked up one at the National Rugby event a couple of weeks ago up in Elkhart. What's next for him now?
Yeah, Raptors rugby got 3rd in the nation, state champ. So that was a ton of fun. And yeah, we got 3rd place. Yeah, he's going to Michigan State. So he's still, we're looking into, I mean, he wants to walk on, but the walk on thing is so hazy now in college football. So, but also he's fallen in love with rugby. So they do have a rugby. I think he wants to keep tackling people in some regard.
Yeah.
So, we'll probably keep doing that in some way.
Yeah.
with or without headgear, huh?
Yeah. Exactly.
There we go. Joe, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Let's take a break here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today. When we come back, we'll talk a little pro baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
June 2nd, 2008, Chipper Jones goes 4 for 5, raising his average to a torrid MLB leading 418 as the Braves down visiting Florida 7-5. Among his 4 hits was a 2-out solo homer in the 6th inning, the 400th of his career, as he became just the 3rd switch hitter to reach that milestone behind Mickey Mantle and Eddie Murray. Former Gordonsville High School standout and ex-Nashville Sound Jeff Bennett also threw a scoreless inning out of the bullpen for Atlanta in the win. That was this day in Braves history. You know, anytime we can get Jeff Bennett in a TDIBH, that's a good thing. Good dude. Like I said, got to deal with him a little bit, both at the high school level and with the Sounds on his 3 stints with them. So good stuff there. Boston gets the Braves 3-1 yesterday in the rubber match of that series after the Red Sox won 5-1 on Friday, and the Braves won 7-1 on Saturday with David Wilson in the building. So thought maybe David was the good luck charm, but he was also there yesterday. So I think he has made his way back to Robertson County. Unfortunately, no luck for David. And the hits keep coming for the Braves. We mentioned that A.J. Smith-Shawver went out of that game Thursday with an elbow issue. Well, it's an issue with his ulnar collateral ligament, and he is set for surgery. Have not determined yet whether it will be the full-blown Tommy John surgery or just the brace surgery, but he's going to be out for about a calendar year regardless of what happens there. And that's a tough blow because, as we've mentioned on this show on a couple of occasions, he and Drake Baldwin were both going to be in the Rookie of the Year run, and the way he was pitching and obviously the way Baldwin has gotten it done at the plate through the first 2.5 months of the season. So that's tough for a Braves rotation that hasn't necessarily struggled, but has certainly had to be on its A game because the offense has been so inconsistent. So throws it on Bryce Elder, and yesterday he was, again, good enough to win, but you're not going to win many games with just 1 run. So something's got to get this offense going, and it doesn't help that apparently Marcell Ozuna is playing with some type of a hip injury. Mentioned in an article late yesterday, early today by David O'Brien of The Athletic. He's got something going on with his hip, and he's trying to play through it and be there for his team. I don't know how extensive it is. They didn't really get into it, but it feels like you put Ozuna on the IL. You bring up another catcher. You throw Murphy and Baldwin both in the everyday lineup, and you roll and get Ozuna off of that for a little bit, because I don't know. And again, we don't know. Maybe it's something that he can't do any further damage to. Maybe it's just a matter of managing the pain. I don't know. But hip for a Major League Baseball player, a hitter, doesn't necessarily sound like a good thing.
Doesn't sound good, and I was just immediately thinking them some big ass hips. So he's really had to do some damage. You're talking about a big guy, strong, powerful guy. So I can only imagine the amount of pain mine are creaking and hurting just from day to day. And I'm tipping the scales of 165. I can't imagine what Ozuna's thinking about. But you're right. I mean, it was good news, bad news for Atlanta. I mean, the good news is you're set up and you roll into Sunday with a chance to maybe take the 2 out of 3, win that rubber game like you're talking about. The bad news is there was a bad dude on the opposing mound as Crochet fans 12. One of the best in the business, taking care of business yesterday. So, the offense wasn't there, but it wasn't as if you're going against a slappy on the opposing mound there.
That is a good point. That's a point worth making. But, when you look at this offense, and as Brian Snitker is so fond of saying, when you look at at the back of their baseball cards, that there's certainly some capabilities there that aren't necessarily being reached. Braves are off today before Arizona comes to town. Speaking of former Vols, Zach Gallen takes the mound against Spencer Strider. And so Arizona's not great either. So maybe there's a chance to do some damage when they come to town. But, at some point, and I'm slowly kind of getting there, I think the Atlanta Braves are what they are. It's just something to not really get your hopes up over. And it's 58 games. They're 27-31. They've been right around 500 at best. I don't know. Maybe this is as good as they are.
Maybe. There's still Fangraphs gives us a 51% chance to make the playoffs. Over here as an Astros fan, I got the Homer Simpson GIF ready to roll, partner, saying, come join us. We're right there, perfectly average as well. The only bad side is for Atlanta is you're in one of the hardest divisions in baseball. You got 2 of the best teams in the entire sport to catch, whereas Houston, being average, like I said, it's NFC South. You can be average and win that division. So not a luxury Atlanta can be afforded at the moment. But the good news, if you want to look at it, the Phillies and the Mets, we're not talking about teams that have exactly fully embraced their favorite role in years past throughout their franchise history. So never say never, but it ain't looking good at the moment. But you're also losing to some tough teams as well.
Yeah, and kind of losing to some teams that you would like to think you could take advantage of. Boston improving to 29-31 with that win yesterday, although, like you said, Crochet is no joke. And so, luck of the draw there. Excuse me. Arizona having its own.
Yeah, he's second in the AL. He's second in the AL in the Cy Young voting right now. We're not talking about some rinky-dink pitcher out here. Now, it was good news, bad news. Good news is you got to win early. Bad news, you had to see him on Sunday.
Yeah, there you go. Again, Arizona dealing with its own pitching issues. Corbin Burns leaves the Diamondbacks game against the White Sox yesterday with some sort of an arm ailment, some elbow discomfort, and is expected to undergo an MRI soon. You hope that's not too bad, but typically when you're talking elbows and MRIs, it doesn't go well, just because these guys really know their bodies really well, and they kind of know when something's not right and the degree of not right that it is. So hoping for the best for that guy, but we'll see. Excuse me. Houston and Tampa Bay played a 4-game series this past week. It was a split, but goodness gracious, the run differentials weren't great. Houston picks up a 1-0 win to close it out and get the split, but Houston's 2 wins were 1-0 and 2-1 on Friday. Tampa Bay's 2 wins were 13-3 on Thursday and 16-3 on Saturday.
Different strokes, different folks, I guess. Houston kind of living and dying on the close games, and Tampa Bay said, if we're going to win, we're going to put up some runs.
Well, Framber Valdez with a nice performance in Friday night's game for Houston in that 1-run victory. And then again, Hunter Brown, 1 hit over 6 innings, becomes the first pitcher in Major League Baseball to get to 8 wins. I think you can pretty much write him in as an American League All-Star when that game comes up here in about 6 weeks. Christian Walker with a first inning RBI for the only run of the game yesterday as the Astros again split that series. Meanwhile, rookie outfielder Jacob Melton gets called up and picks up his first major league hit for the Astros in the victory. Had to wait a minute because Tampa Bay reviewed the play. But little suspense before that first MLB hit came for the youngster there.
Just to build a little extra drama, right?
Nothing wrong with that. Houston also idle today before they go to PNC Park. They take on the Pirates. It'll be Lance McCullers and Paul Skeens. Could be an interesting matchup the way McCullers is thrown of late.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Maybe Houston gives Mr. Skeens a little bit of the medicine that the Cardinals have been giving him lately. I'm not holding my breath, especially considering those run performances you just mentioned for the offense for Houston. But hope springs eternal. Be a fun series, classic throwback NL Central matchup between them two old rivals.
We mentioned Colorado earlier in the show. I guess during the
Scotty Scheffler segment, as we figured we would.
Of course, yeah. The Rockies, with Saturday's loss to the Mets, fell to 9-50. 9-50. I don't know that anybody has ever lost 50 games before June 1st. They're on pace to go 25-137. Sunday's loss. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. They lost on Sunday to go to 9-50. Headlines and the story don't always match up, y'all. But yeah, they lost yesterday 5-3 to the Mets, despite an Orlando Arcia home run, by the way, to go to 9-50. They are the first team since 1901 to reach 50 losses before winning 10 games. And, we've talked to Thomas Harding from MLB.com. This is not a good team, and I don't guess there's much way around it, but they're just unbelievably bad, record-settingly bad, apparently. Before this, the 1886 Louisville Colonels were 10-49. Three other teams had lost 45 games before they won 10. None after 1904. So, this is it's been a long year, and it's going to get longer in Colorado. Apparently, where is football season?
Yeah, it's been rough for them. Luckily, they got Bo Nix and Sean Payton to kind of hopefully provide them a little extra juice. But man, as bad as they have been, this is crazy. Out of their last 11 games, 8 of them have been by 2 runs or less, and their series have come against the Phillies, the Yankees, the Cubs, and the Mets. So they've taken on 4 of the absolute best teams in a row. They even beat the Yankees 3-2 somehow amidst all that. But they have been real bad. And other than that 8-2 loss Saturday, it's kind of been weird. They ain't been great by any means. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say they're a good team, but they have lost a lot of close games versus really good teams in this putrid stretch that they've been on. Losing 8 in a row now. But again, 8 of their last 11 have been by 2 runs or less versus 4 of the best teams in the bigs.
Man, that's tough. And I would imagine part of it is when you're in a close game like that, at some point you start thinking, wow, how are we going to screw this up, right?
I would think so. And I mean, who knows? They could have been down 5-0 and then scored 3 runs, for cosmetic. I'm not, no disrespect to my Rockies brethren out there, but I'm not digging that deep in the weeds for you because
okay.
9 wins. But yeah, it has been tough, and it will continue to be tough. And I've said many times, the good news about baseball is you got 162 games. The bad news about baseball, you got 162 games. Good luck, Rockies.
There you go. Nashville closed out its series at Indianapolis with an 11-1 win. They dropped that series 4-2. But Wes Clark with a pair of home runs and 4 runs driven in yesterday in that 10-run victory. Eddie Rosario for the week went 11 for 25. That's 440. Had 4 extra base hits for the week. Don't be surprised if he gets something from the International League sometime today. The Sounds open a 6-game series at First Horizon Park tomorrow against visiting Gwinnett. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we continue the weekend wrap-up, on the other side of this break, we'll get into the grab bag. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we have our NBA Finals matchup as of Saturday night, with the Indiana Pacers taking care of business as expected, 125-108 against the New York Knicks back at, Gamebridge Fieldhouse, in front of John Halliburton, I'm sure. It was pretty inevitable, and Pacers got it done, so we got Pacers Thunder as expected.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get an extra game, but the New York, man, this is going to be a interesting offseason, and we're talking about New York fans, so rationality probably going to go out the window. But on one hand, you have to be impressed. I mean, first conference finals for them in ages and ages. Got to go back to the 90s, right? Early 2000s before we're talking about them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Right there on the cusp. Yeah, things kind of broke a certain way, but somebody's got to step through the door, and you were right there. And man, for a team that rallied from 20 points down a couple of times versus Boston to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to circle that game one and wonder how in the world did you blow that late lead, letting Halliburton and letting Nesmith kind of go nuclear there down the stretch and cost you maybe. If that game turns differently, playing in the Garden, who knows how this series plays out. But after that, it felt like Indiana was on cruise control from there on out, and deservedly so. They are a great team. Second best record, only trailing, shocker, the Thunder, since January 1st, we're talking about these Indiana Pacers. Since Jan 1, they have been second best. So it felt inevitable, but man, it would have been nice to get a game 7, but wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, you excuse me, you mentioned the Knicks and their Eastern Conference Finals drought. This was their first appearance since the 1999-2000 series. But, to your point about Knicks fans and rationality / objectivity, I'm not sure you can necessarily mention those together. As great a season this is from a 30,000-foot view for the Knicks, there are rumblings. Do they actually make a move with Thibodeau?
I mean, yeah, there are rumblings with Tibbs. There, if you read the internet, I mean, is there Karl Anthony Towns trade rumors? I mean, New York, nothing is off the table when we're talking about New York sports in general, but certainly with the Knicks. And man, when you get so close, the rational thing, seemingly rational thing to do is kind of take a step back and evaluate objectively. But we know we don't always live in that world. You're wondering what the next move is because, man, you could almost taste that finals berth, but then it just kind of falls short. And that's what I'm saying. You're going to look back years from now and maybe say, we really kind of wasted this opportunity. In the moment, you feel kind of good because you did get to those Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in ages, first time in a lot of Knicks fans' lifetime, young fans at least. So, I mean, man, it will be a very interesting offseason. I don't know what the move will be. I don't know if they make a move with Tibbs. I don't know if they really seriously consider doing something with Towns, swing for the fences and try and trade for a bigger superstar. I don't know how that plays out.
And you feel like it's going to be interesting in the East because next year you got obviously the Pacers coming off of a championship series berth. You've got Cleveland feeling like, if we hadn't had all those injuries late in the year, we're right back there. And obviously they won 64 games this season. Boston's going to be in flux, obviously, with the Jason Tatum situation. But the Knicks feel like they're right there with good reason. And, do you tweak it or do you tear it down and rebuild it? So it's, to your point, I think you try to figure out how to add to what you've already got there that's good, but I guess you have to figure out what's good and what isn't before you do that. So,
yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it a couple of different times. Tibbs especially, this team kind of really just runs on blood, sweat, and tears and guts, kind of like those old Grizzlies teams. And you can punch as hard as you want, and you can ride those players as hard as you possibly can. But sometimes it's just not good enough. So I will be certainly fascinated to see with the East kind of in flux. I'm going to whisper this. The East going to kind of be pretty subpar. It looks like on paper, especially with Tatum being out. I mean, it doesn't seem like we're going to have those real super teams like we saw with Boston and with Cleveland this year in the regular season, at least for next year. So who does ascend to that? I mean, we're kind of, talking about next year before we even get done with the finals. But that question is certainly warranted because there's a lot of flux in the East, and where will New York fit in that puzzle? Man, they gave it a great shot, but it is got to be frustrating if you're a Knicks fan. Game 7 in the Garden would have been electric.
Pascal Siakam is your Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Were you surprised at that? Did you think it would be Halliburton? What was your read on that?
I mean, I was surprised in the instant, the instant of the moment. And when you see Halliburton in the back kind of smiling and it look as if he's going to walk out and step and take the trophy, maybe you're like, hold your breath and get shocked. But I mean, at the end of the day, Siakam was the real fulcrum kind of for the Pacers in this series. And you go back, we did 2 shows last week. And after one show, we were sitting here debating, is Halliburton ready to be the next great American superstar? And then the very next night, he has one of the all-time duds in the series. Siakam, meanwhile, he was cool, calm, collected, 30-plus points on a number of different occasions, including he was kind of the real pivot point for them in their win in Game 6, the Hickson 6, if you will, taking that one. So getting him the MVP, is not quite the same. I know the parallels are there with Brown and Tatum from last year, but it felt like Siakam is a worthy Eastern Conference Finals MVP to me.
Yeah. So we get this thing started Thursday in OKC. Is that right?
Yep. Best record.
Okay. There we go. So game 1, Thursday night, Oklahoma City and the Pacers, and the NBA asks that you please tune in.
Yes, I mean, it's going to be a great series. I don't know that we'd end up with anything other than a gentleman's sweep in my mind. Give me OKC in 5, pretty much every situation. I do think there will be a little bit of backbone from Indy in game 3 or game 4, maybe, and they can sneak up and win for a reason, like Landon mentioned to us last week. The pace will maybe be good enough to just get them one win. But it'll be a great game. I think some of the games will be compelling. I think it'll be a pretty good series. And, you know, Indiana seeking its first ever title. OKC trying to win one in their current kind of iteration here. So I think it'll be fun, but it feels inevitable that we're talking about the best team, the number 1 seed Thunder, the spunky upstart 4 seed Pacers. But we still hopefully get some compelling theater because it is 2 of the best teams, I think, probably the 2 best teams from what we've seen in their respective brackets.
There we go. 59-0. I don't know that we've ever heard that number before in relation to a college baseball team, but that's what LSU Shreveport pulled off with a 13-7 win on Friday over Southeastern Florida in the NAIA World Series championship game. First national title in any sport for the Pilots, and obviously longest win streak in college baseball history at any level. So and Wade got us on this a couple of weeks ago. Nice get, Mr. Neely. This is
well, it was an assist though from our guy Jim Derry at the Datitude podcast. He was the one that brought it to our attention, and then I just rolled with it. But you are right. Cool to see them get it done. Kind of delighted to see them. They got bounced in the opening round last year. They went 2 games and 2 in barbecue, as you like to say. Actually, I take it back. I'm misreading that. I don't want to besmirch the Pilots here. They battled back. They lost their first game in the opening round last year, made it all the way to the championship, but did lose in the regionals. So, yeah, props to them on getting it done. And you know you've hit the big time when the Athletic is writing about the NAI and NAI baseball in particular. So that tells you the level of success these guys have. And props to them. And we'll see how many of them come back to the roster next year.
We'll see how many of them come back to the roster next year. We'll be keeping an eye on them early on because they will take a 59-game win streak in the next season.
28 times this season, they won by at least 10 runs. They went unbeaten, obviously, 30-0 in the Red River Athletic Conference. They broke the 4-year win streak, which was 46 games earlier this season. That was held by Division II Savannah State in the late 1990s. And then, as you mentioned last week, Friday, they set the record previously held by Howard College for all schools. Heck of a run. It would have been, either way, in my mind, it would have been cool. It would have been cool if they lost and then somehow responded with still a national championship. But it was also eternally sweet. You can etch that bad boy forever in the baseball lore. 59-0, that is unreal.
That really is. I mean, I just don't know how you go out 59 times and get it done 59 times. That's amazingly impressive.
Their coach Brad Neffendorf, he's 270-49 in his 6 years at the school. So he's got them rolling. I mean, now the question will become, I mean, you go 59-0. I know Mississippi State just hired a coach. And, I don't think he goes to Virginia by any means. But, I mean, if you're a school looking for a turnaround, and the NAI is not that far off in terms of talent in baseball compared to your Division IIs and your small D1s, maybe even better than your small D1s. So be interested to see what happens, for the players and for the coaching staff next year.
Yeah, the coaching staff in particular. I mean, you'd like to think that he's going to have some opportunities, but that's also a more money, more problems kind of thing there too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he might like Shreveport and seafood and that kind of thing. So that might be the spot. North Carolina and Bill Belichick are still, paired. And the fact that they are makes things interesting to some degree because Belichick had a $10 million buyout as part of his deal with the Tar Heels that as of yesterday went to 1 million. Now, I don't know if that makes him more attractive for any NFL team or for anybody else, or if there's an avenue back to the league for Belichick. Maybe not this summer, maybe not at all. I don't know. But that number went down, and it was an odd portion of his deal. I think it was odd at the time that it was signed, and I just think that it kind of bears mentioning that it went down from 10 million to 1 million on June 1st, and that was yesterday. So
yeah, this was that date that everybody had circled, because we were all kind of wondering, and I guess we're still wondering, but now the real kind of clock starts ticking, right? Everybody kind of, when the contract was finally rolled out, you remember we talked about it on this show, felt like the terms were reported, and then we had to wait like a month before they were finally revealed in full. And then when that date was brought out, it's like, okay, well, this seems kind of odd. It'll be interesting to kind of put some context to it. Ryan Day would leave, if he were to leave Ohio State today, it would be a $6 million buyout. So we're talking about Belichick, obviously one of the greatest to ever do it across any level of football. But trying this North Carolina experiment on, I'll be fascinated to see what happens. And obviously there's a lot of off the field intrigue as well for a variety of reasons in Chapel Hill. And this will be must-see TV in some shape, form, or fashion next year, no doubt about it.
It'll be must-see TV, and Tar Heel fans are reacting accordingly. They have sold 20,000 season ticket packages, which is up significantly from last year's number that I don't have in front of me.
Now, does that include a meet and greet with Jordan? With Jordan Hudson? I mean, you can really get creative and start milking this thing here if you want.
You got to be careful just using Jordan and North Carolina. Jordan Hudson was.
There's only one Jordan in North Carolina right now, and she is the 24-year-old that is turning the football program on its head. MJ's got NASCAR duties to worry about for the moment. He'll get involved when it really push comes to shove, but for now, it's Miss Hudson's time up there in Chapel Hill, it seems like.
Obviously, Belichick's impact has been pretty immediate. His 2025 signing class was ranked 29th nationally. They have a top 10 transfer signing class, and they brought in 41 total transfers since he got there, which leads the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, what that means once they get on the field will be anybody's guess. Again, they open on Labor Day against TCU, and that game will be nationally televised. So, again, plenty of interest in the Tar Heels as the 2025 college football season approaches. Wade, have you started paying attention to the French Open yet? I know you're a big tennis guy.
Been watching it all show. Sinner, the number one player in the world, is playing Rublev, the German, right now, up 2-1. Djokovic has been playing pretty well. I like watching the clay. I'm more of a Wimbledon guy, I will admit. Don't want to upset my French fans out there, but I'm a little more partial to the grass. But yeah, we watch a little bit of the clay here, and we've been keeping tabs, but we've had it on this afternoon here at the Neely household.
Okay, so the fact that we've got two American-born men tennis players in the quarters, you can appreciate the significance of that, I guess.
Yeah, the U.S. has been playing well in particular, and let me dig through her. There was a U.S. woman that had a great upset a couple days ago. I've slept since then. But some of the U.S. results have been kind of surprising. And, we saw Naomi Osaka go out in the first round, kind of in embarrassing fashion yet again. So, I mean, from the jump, this tournament has kind of been a little compelling, but it's also feels like I don't know if it was just dwarfed by everything else that was going on the last 2 weeks, NBA, NHL, NCAA regionals. Yeah, this is kind of the time to shine because we are smack dab approaching a sports drought here. So hopefully the folks over at Roland Garros will get us through here until we can get to Wimbledon. But it's been fun so far.
You've got both Tommy Paul and a guy whose name I don't think I can necessarily pronounce as your two U.S. guys that have gotten through.
Ben
Tiafo?
Shelton, Francis Tiafo, yeah. Ben Shelton got.
There we go.
Yeah, Ben Shelton, the former Florida Gator, the southpaw, he got beat already in this tournament, but he is fun to watch. But yeah, Francis
Alcaraz got him right.
Got him, but Francis Tiafo, he usually holds his goods for later in the year at the U.S. Open. He is fun to watch, and man, every time you kind of discount him and think, man, he's getting a little long in the tooth, he kind of pulls a little something out of his hat. So I know I got some friends that kind of they're in the habit of doubting TFO a little bit, but I always root for the U.S. guys. I mean, Tommy Paul will not have an answer for Alcaraz, I don't think. I know Shelton took a set off of him, but don't count on that happening. It looks like we're headed toward Alcaraz and Djokovic maybe on the clay in the final. Center, obviously, we'll have a chance at Djokovic before then. But it's been fun. We're keeping tabs on it here. 6-6, 2 sets for Center and to open us up here. And he's kind of cruising. Number 1 player in the world, the Italian.
On the women's side, Coco Gauff and Madison Keys have both gotten through to the quarters. Jessica Pegula lost in whatever the round before the quarters is. What is that? The round of 16, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let me look this up. Maybe this was in the 3rd round. But there was an American player that I was unfamiliar with, and I had to, as you said, unfamiliar with her game. Let me scroll back here. I'm hoping it's not the 2nd round.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll report back. But there was a younger American player, and I was like, okay, show me a little something here. And yeah, Keys we've obviously seen do well. We always root for Coco. That'll be a fun matchup. A little American on American action in 2 nights' time. That'll be on TBS. You can check that one out.
There we go. Let's take a break here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by MAREN ANGUS-COOMBS of softball on SI, talking little softball. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo, opening June 20th.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
When last we left Oklahoma City, Tennessee was coming up with a walk-off loss to Oklahoma in Thursday's action. Huge home run by Ella Parker to win that one for the Sooners. And we wondered, how does Tennessee come back from this? Well, they did.
Came a little back.
Yeah, well, they blasted Florida on Friday.
I told you that rivalry game would be good for them.
Yeah, you were right. And then they had a pretty controversial situation yesterday against UCLA, but got past that. But today against Texas was a little much. We bring in MAREN ANGUS-COOMBS of softball on SI to kind of get us up to speed on the activity out at Oklahoma City. MAREN, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What's happening?
I just saw my prediction come true. That's what happened.
Well, now your predictions, not all predictions are created equally, I don't guess, because yes,
Really?
you did. Yes, because you did predict Tennessee to the Final Four, but you also predicted Tennessee was going to beat Oklahoma the other day.
I mean, I thought they were going to. It was the middle of the game. You probably did too. You're like,
I honestly, I would not have made a prediction about that game at any point because nothing that Oklahoma does surprises me at this point. I mean,
yeah.
So, but what do you feel like the mood is with regard to Tennessee softball? They did finish in the Final Four. They lost 2-0 to Texas earlier today. That finishes up their season. It's their second Final Four in 3 years. But at what point does that become not enough? Is that not enough now?
I think judging by the post-game press conference, they want more. To me, the weak spot today was defense. And that's kind of showed its ugly head in the postseason for Tennessee. You had that first game of the Super Regional against Nebraska. And then throughout the World Series, there have been some question marks. But today, I know Laura Mueller has been good at the plate at the World Series. She's been clutch. But she made a couple of mistakes that cost runs, and today that happened. And I think that's the main thing going forward. Tennessee's got the pitching, right? They have Carlin Pickens for another year, but now they have to reload almost an entire infield, and they have to find sure-handed defenders because in the end it's defense that's winning championships.
And, to your point, Laura drove in with 3 of their 5 runs yesterday, including the game winner. And, we're not going to besmirch anybody from Chapel Hill, Tennessee, the pride of Forest High School, transfer from Middle Tennessee State. But I mean, you're right. Your offense has to outweigh your defense, I guess, in some situations. And she also had that infield fly that kind of got misplayed that was almost disastrous yesterday against UCLA. That wasn't the most disastrous thing, though. Tell us about Appendix G, MAREN.
Well, to sum up Appendix G, the play that the umpires reviewed they initiated the review only to come to the conclusion that it was a non-reviewable play.
That's not a great look at best for the umpires. And I think that you can tell the umpires firsthand that UCLA and the Vols kind of bailed them out from their own little bout with Vol Twitter, I would imagine.
Oh, 100%. I've been thinking about it all day about what to make of the situation. And I think what we're seeing with this World Series are several rules that were put in play with good intentions.
Hold on. I had an 8th grade science teacher tell me once when she asked me where my homework was, and I'm like, I meant to do it, but Mr. Patton, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so,
Right.
Okay.
But that's
So there,
that's exactly it. I think some of these rules were made with good intentions, and what is happening is that the scenarios that aren't thought of are on display for the world to see, and these rules are basically they make them look silly. They make the people who are making the rules, whether don't quote me on how rules are made. The Coaches Association has something to do with it. Then you've got the NCAA. But they've got to really sit down and figure out there needs to be a safety bag at first base. There needs to be.
how did baseball get a safety bag ahead of softball?
I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure softball has a safety bag in high school.
You know, I've not covered enough high school softball here of late to really answer that, to be honest. I haven't
Pretty
noticed.
sure we had safety bags in high school.
Okay.
And like 99.9999% sure.
And that came into play yesterday.
And that came into play yesterday. So the runner's lane. Well, the runner's lane, typically, if you have two bags, it's the two bags. But if you don't have two bags,
at some point you've got to come inside.
Exactly.
To take the base.
Right.
My bigger question, though, Maren, is why? How do we determine what's reviewable and what's non-reviewable? Shouldn't it be get it right? If you go back and you watch the play and you see that a player did not touch the plate and was assisted back to the plate by being physically touched, that's a violation. The runner's out.
Right.
How is it not that cut and dried? How do we decide what's reviewable, what's non-reviewable, and why would that be non-reviewable?
So they're saying that it would have been reviewable had Karen Weekly asked to review before she touched home, before her teammate led her to touching home. That by the rule would be reviewable because they caught the play in time. I know you're looking at me. I get it.
My head is spinning.
I get it. So, but it's a dead ball because it's a home run. So her teammate can assist her to touch home, and it's not an out because it's a dead ball. So if it was any other bag and the ball was still alive, she would have been out. But because a home run is considered a dead ball, it then turns into an appeal play.
I'm sure Karen was just overjoyed with that explanation. And again, if UCLA had some kind of way won that ball game, I mean, if you're the umpires, you got to be rooting for UT from that point forward.
Oh, 100%. But at the same time, like the play that happened in the inning before against UCLA, the runner's interference play at first base, like I think each team got a call. It just because that ended the inning for UCLA. It made the sport look silly, like on national television. I think because softball, it's all about growing the audience, growing the game, growing the sport. We want new eyes on this sport every year. We're trying to get more eyes on it. So now you have a casual fan tuning in who's maybe been watching baseball and sees this happen. I would start laughing.
Well, I mean, that's the frustrating thing, I think, or the, as a weird sicko, and with no skin in the game with UCLA or Tennessee, the 20-minute review, I'm grabbing, I got 2 bowls of popcorn.
Play that you can't review.
Yeah, I got 2 bowls of popcorn done in that time. But the part that was ridiculous to that point is yes, that you can't review, but also we get 20 minutes and we still kind of really don't have an answer. I thought that was kind of off-putting to your point, Mary. But then you wonder what Karen had to say. She says, I think everybody but 4 people saw the play at the plate.
That's exactly what
I don't know exactly which 4 people she's talking about. I got a pretty good guess, though, right?
I think I got a pretty good guess. Yeah.
To have, that's the other thing too, to have a 20-minute review, have them say it's a not reviewable play. And then he said appendage G, not appendix G. Did you hear that?
No, I
missed that part.
Yeah.
Appendage.
Yeah. It's a thing of beauty.
Oh goodness. The gift that keeps giving. Absolutely.
I feel like awful announcing should pick that up. Appendage G, and it's a non-reviewable play, even though we initiated the review.
Right.
Part of me thinks that would they have had the guts to call her out in that situation?
There are those that would tell you they would not have had the guts to call her out in that situation, and part of it was because she was wearing blue and gold.
Correct. All of it. All of the above. I don't know if they would want to make that call. Imagine, it could be an Oklahoma player. Imagine if it was OU. You're
in Oklahoma City.
In Oklahoma
City. No, thank you.
They wouldn't make that call.
Do you think there's another party at the plate in Oklahoma City this week? Because I feel like every coach is telling every team at this point, don't leave the dugout.
Some teams don't do it as it is. And you can Oklahoma, when they celebrate, they are away from the plate. They're not hovering over it and giving their players space to run in and touch home. Trying to think if the others do the same, but I think players are going to be more aware.
Mm-hmm.
And even like the non, I can't even say that. Megan Grant, that was her 26th home run of the season. Like, she should know better.
Yeah.
Like, she should know better. I'm sorry, she should.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of it's ingrained in you to double touch home on certain things, just to be careful. I just think that we'll see if people go back to doing hugs and high fives, or if we're gonna have more celebrations.
Megan, what do you like about this game that's coming up? Oklahoma and Texas Tech. Oklahoma has to beat Tech twice to get back to the best of 3 championship series against Texas, which would obviously make it an all Southeastern Conference affair for everything else that has taken place, should the Sooners actually pull that off. But what do you like?
Yeah, I really
Who do you
like. Who do I like? It's hard not to like Nyjah Kennedy and what she's doing. And then this morning, Texas Tech head coach Jerry Glasgow revealed that she actually has been pitching through a torn hamstring for almost 9 weeks.
Torn?
So it was kind of unclear whether if it's still torn or if it was torn for 9 weeks in the season. But regardless, she went 12 weeks without throwing a bullpen. And she's still doing this. She's like the best pitcher in the country on one leg. How do you not cheer for or want her to do well, especially when she's kind of the face of the sport right now?
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to be pitching against the entire state of Oklahoma in a few hours.
The entire state. That's Yeah, because there will be there'll be a little crimson in the seats at Devon Park, I would think. So
Just a little bit.
certainly an uphill battle for the Red Raiders in that one. But besides Najari, what has to happen for Texas Tech, or is that enough?
What we've seen from Kennedy in this tournament is she needs her team to score 1 to 3 runs. Do I think it's safe against Oklahoma to score 1 or 3 runs and be able to get a win? Maybe.
Ask Tennessee. I think the answer to that is no.
Right.
Sure as heck don't want to risk it.
You
No.
want to score you want to score at least 3. You would feel comfortable with at least 3 with Oklahoma on the other side. I would be more comfortable with 4 or 5, but I don't think they're going to give up that many, and I don't think Texas Tech's offense is good enough to score that many.
And I guess if Oklahoma can win the first one and force the game tomorrow, then all bets are off, period, right?
The if game would be 30 minutes after
6 and 8:30.
6. and
Oh,
8.
so it's tonight.
It's
Oh,
tonight.
my
We
bad. I
will have a
misread
winner. We will have a winner and a loser
tonight. Oof. Well, all right then. Should
I'm
be
tweeting
interesting.
breaking news while I'm talking to you right now.
Well, you can feel free to break it here. What you got?
Jalen Adams, a Big Ten second team pitcher, is in the transfer portal
From
Iowa.
Why would you want to play softball at Iowa?
She's from Iowa, man. That's the
okay. All right. Well, okay. That makes sense. Because we had Savannah Sanders.
No gift baskets from the Hawkeyes for Mo for the foreseeable future.
No, I mean it just feels like it would be how long can you get on the field? When can you get on the field if you're an Iowa softball player?
They play high. This is interesting. They play high school softball in the summer.
Yeah, I knew they played baseball in the summer, but I mean, as a collegian, when can you get on the field?
It was actually unseasonably warm this spring. You now that I live out here, I can say that.
Yeah. No, we talked to current Green Hill coach Savannah Sanders about a year or so ago.
She's Iowa State.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I asked her the same question. What makes someone go play college softball in Iowa? I mean, no disrespect, man. I'm just from a climate standpoint. I mean, how many layers do you have to put on to go out there and play in March?
This year, not as many.
Okay, this year. Lord. Maren Angus-Combs.
Real quick, Aaron mentioned tooting horns earlier. I will toot my Michigan Wolverines horn. Still the only Big Ten national champions back in 2005. Finished runner up in 15. To Mo's point, the Big Ten ain't exactly cranking out national champs other than my beloved Wolverines there.
Also, I'll be devil's advocate here because it's so interesting. With Texas clinching a spot in the championship series, they have become the first SEC team to reach the championship series since 2017. And it's because they're no longer in the Big 12.
Wow. To that point, we obviously as fans, I'm assuming, it feels like we really can't lose. Texas versus Texas Tech, obviously some crazy, compelling theater there in terms of Kennedy, but also just a little rivalry within the state. But you really can't lose with Texas and Oklahoma. Does Texas or do Texas fans have a true preference in your mind, Maren, for the championship series?
They've played both. I think if I'm Texas, I would probably want Texas Tech over Oklahoma. They haven't played Tech as many times as they've played Oklahoma this year. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. So OU, yes, they swept Texas and it was a disaster during the regular season, but they would end up playing at least 2 more games. I don't think Texas would be able to win that. And I think the Red River rivalry I'm over it. I'm over them playing in championships. Like, I'm over it. Get some fresh blood in there. If Tech can not only Tech, the storyline, think about it. It's their first World Series. They got their first World Series win. And then they got their second World Series win. Can you imagine them playing in a championship series in their first World Series?
I would think that collective is just rubbing its hands together over the money well spent again for Najari Kennedy in that situation, should they run this thing all the way out. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, especially again with her pitching with a torn hamstring. Maren Angus-COOMBS of Softball on SI joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Maren, we know you'll be watching and we will be checking in with you. So thanks for spending some time with us.
Always a pleasure. Let me know when I can come back.
We'll do it.
Looking forward to it.
Let's take a quick break and come back for the final segment of the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's the final segment of the weekend wrap-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. They did a little racing over in Gladeville over the weekend. Roger Carruth picks up the second victory of his career in Friday's Craftsman Truck Rackley Roofing 200, and while that was a great storyline there for him, again, his second win. Dawson Sutton from Lebanon finished fifth. I'm sorry, finished 11th. I misread that. His second best finish, again, rookie from Lebanon, finishing 11th on pretty much his home track right there after starting 29th. Last year he finished fifth out at Kansas, but guess he still qualifies as a rookie because Larry Woody has referred to him as such. His 11th place finish Friday night was the best finish of any rookie in the race. Again, the 19-year-old finishing 11th in the Rackley Roofing 200. So congrats to the local kid. That had to be a big deal, man.
Yeah. Always cool. And man, talk about going out. You kind of know what to do. And yeah, you know the track, but now, man, just with that many eyeballs and that much extra attention to still go out and deliver a quality performance, very impressive.
Yeah. On Saturday in the Xfinity Series, Justin Allgaier won the Tennessee Lottery 250. Drives for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Dale Jr. was in the building. So he picks up the win there. And in the finale, it was Ryan Blaney winning the Cracker Barrel 400 last night. So a lot of action over at Gladeville. A lot of excitement. 38,000 in the building. Had to be a good weekend, and they got good weather, seems like. So
yeah, I was just about to say they held off. There was a chance that Mother Nature was going to rear her ugly head late in that race yesterday. We were potentially looking at a delay. It was already starting late, you know, and was kind of just battling. Everybody's peeping. You know, you're refreshing Nash severe weather 24/7, just hoping. But yeah, credit to Blaney. He led the final 32, 139 total laps, first Cup victory of the season. Good effort for him. Chase Rice, you know, CMA Fest cranking up this week, so they leaned in heavy to the country music flavor. Some other celebs there. A lot of Titans in attendance this weekend. It was a big, big weekend and a good weekend of racing out there in Gladeville.
Trophy guitars for each of those three winners. So further strengthening those ties between the race and upcoming CMA Fest. So lot of visitors to town here over the next few days, and I guess this event out there kind of started that up. So a lot going on. We mentioned earlier in the show, NSC gets out to a 2-0 halftime lead as Sam Surridge gets a brace before halftime. Fifth goal in his last 3 matches. But the boys in gold unable to hang on. They do extend their unbeaten record to 10, but took a 2-2 draw against visiting NYC Football Club over at Geodis on Saturday afternoon. Drawing at home, again, not great, but could be worse, right?
Yeah, it could be worse. You know, we leave that one Saturday, and everybody's kind of not feeling great, but you know, it's a smile because it happened type situation. It was a great month of May, one of the best months in franchise history. They've already updated all the billboards. You know, they're not at home in the whole month of June as the FIFA Club World Cup and then the U.S. men's national team kind of take over Geodis. But it was electric, and you're right. Man, the only bad part was I was down there in the supporters section, and we're on the opposite end because I would have loved to have had a much better view of that first goal. Hani Mukhtar with a back heel for the ages to assist Surridge. It was a thing of beauty. Could see it kind of developing a mile away. But as impressive as Surridge was in the first half, Hannes Wolf with 2 goals. Yeah, the first one a little bit of a cheapie. The second one, you know, quality, but even it out. So Surridge with 2 and then Wolf with 2. It's kind of like those two going toe-to-toe. Nashville will take the points kind of into the international break. We saw Zimmerman get the start. The vibes were electric. The place was buzzing, especially for a hot Saturday afternoon with a lot of other entertainment going on.
Mm-hmm.
But 2-2, yeah, not the best, but it's not the worst, and certainly didn't lose. If they had somehow given up a third goal late, it would have really been a sad way to kind of end what was a glorious month for NSC.
You know, the youngster Chris Applewhite did not get in apparently on the back line for NSC, but youth was served. Are you familiar with this kid, Matthew Corcoran, at all, Wade?
No, he drew the start in the midfield and played pretty well. Tagseth, you know, Tagseth had kind of, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, they kind of interchanged, right? But he had started on the right side of the midfield for the majority of the season, but Callahan kind of flip-flopped some Tagseth a little bit on the left. But no, was largely unfamiliar with him. Saw some decent stuff. You know, something to give you a little extra juice to think about.
Sure. Got the start, Corcoran did, his first since starting at the Red Bulls back in March 1st. But had an assist on Surge's first goal, the youngest player in NSC history to record a goal contribution is the way they have phrased that in their post-game notes. So 19 years, 103 days old was Mr. Corcoran on Saturday. So again, they're working some young guys in, clearly.
And he's kind of to that point, he's kind of in the mix with the U.S. youth program heavily in the midfield. But we also saw, I mentioned Zimmerman. He just received a U.S. Late camp invite. His first non-January, if I can phrase that correctly, kind of not a token invite, kind of a real meaningful call-up. His first real call-up since June of 23. So not only good to see him back, good to see Corcoran kind of getting in the mix there at the youth level, but certainly good to see the captain getting back out there. It'll be fun. I don't know if that's a ticket grab. I'm not saying it is, but you can certainly sell a lot more tickets to that match on June 10th if you got the captain kind of in the mix there for the U.S. as well, you would think.
Oh, without question. The Nashville Cats picked up a 44-39 win out at Corpus Christi yesterday, improving to 5-3 on the season. They are currently third in the Arena League One or Arena Football One standings. The top two teams will host semifinal games over the weekend of June 20th. So they finish up at Billings a week from today, and then against visiting Corpus on the 14th. If they can win both of those and get a loss from Southwest Kansas, the Cats would ease into that number 2 spot and host a semifinal game. So we know what needs to happen, and it starts with the Cats closing out with a couple of victories. Meanwhile, again, 44-39, the win, and contributing to that victory was former Cane Ridge High School quarterback DJ Thorpe. Played his college ball over at Western Carolina. At some point, he made the transition from quarterback to receiver and caught a touchdown pass in Sunday's win. It's his second touchdown catch in as many games for the Cats. So congrats to DJ and the Cats. Again, 5-3. They're 5-3 now with that win, and with an eye toward the playoffs. It looks like they're going to be in regardless, but certainly with a shot to host. So
yeah, keep them rolling. I want to see the Cats in the shopping mall at the end of the season. Let's get them in the shopping mall for the championship game. Make that happen. Come on, boys.
Yeah, no doubt. We closed the show with some sad news. Wade, you are probably familiar with Sports Science show from the, I guess, mid 2000s into the 2010s, started on Fox Sports and at some point transitioned over to ESPN. Host John Brinkus died this weekend at the age of 54. A statement on his Twitter/X account said he had been battling depression and lost his fight. It's with profound sadness that we share the news that John Brinkus has passed away. 6-time Emmy Award-winning Sports Science had been battling depression. We'll let you connect the dots there, but you hate to hear that.
Yeah, very, very tough. And he had been vocal about that since 23, kind of opening up and doing as much as he could. It is a tough, tough thing. It is a sad thing, and he will be missed.
No doubt. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health challenges, emotional distress, substance use problems, or just needs to talk, call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org 24/7. That's going to do it for the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join us back here at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll see you then.